you're gonna get ripped to shreds by a beast of my own creation.
Fatality.
Hello and welcome to round 11 of Wake Up 3. I'm player 2, Molly.
This is player 1, Cam. We're your hosts of Wake Up 3.
This is a fighting game podcast from a couple who loves fighting games. So I am going to actually throw a mix-up on the mix-up this week and get our episode started with our week in fighting games, Cam. We caught the Kombat Kast on Friday. That ended up happening on Friday.
Yeah.
So we got to see some new gameplay.
Yeah, it highlighted 3 characters, which were Smoke, Ashra, and Garrus.
How'd you feel about those characters after seeing that?
I feel like Garrus looks like he's going to be a threat. He's got a command grab that hits you from distance, but I think to me, the standout was Smoke. I'm always into those characters that can just rush in and attack as fast as possible and as often as you can and just mix you up. He's looking like he's going to be an absolute monster with the mix.
Yeah, it's looking like his tools are endless, which is a theme.
Yeah, this might be the first game in a while from NRS where every character in the game is busted.
Yeah. Garrus, we kind of touched on, he looks insane as well. Ashra has a bunch of tools as well. She's got Guile-esque projectile game with her ghost.
Yep.
And the Ghost EX. Oh man, just...
Yeah.
And we figured out that her dark form is something, just a stance that she taps into.
Yeah, and that seems kind of cool, doesn't
Yeah.
it? It had a different effect on each one of her special moves.
And then we got to see a lot of cool cameo gameplay as well, and different things that they can do. Some notable ones that come to mind first are Sub-Zero with the freeze, where he can protect you from projectiles. Ooh. Sector had some cool stuff too.
He has his homing missile back, which that's exciting.
Yeah.
And then he has his teleport back, of course. We all knew that was going to be one of his special moves. But this time it is tracking, so if you're trying to jump away or dash away, whatever, it's going to be pretty difficult.
Sector is going to bring out some fear in a lot of players, I think.
I was already pretty excited about him because I love robots in MK. Mm-hmm. But after seeing the stuff he's able to do in this, I think he's going to be pretty scary for setups, and I'm looking forward to it. But a character I'm looking forward to even more after seeing their gameplay is Goro. We got to see his Stomp, which takes both bars of cameo, but man, I cannot wait to use that thing in combat.
We finally got to see Prince Goro's Fatal Blow contribution. I liked his. How'd you feel about it?
I liked it, yeah. He grabs you by the torso, and then with his other set of arms, he pulls your arms, just rips your shoulders out of the sockets, and then he headbutts you away real quick. And I like that. I thought it was cool.
Love it. Well, we're big Goro fans around here,
We love Goro.
So. The Kombat Kast was cool. It was cool to see more gameplay from characters we've yet to see that from. I think Garrus is looking like my pick. You said Smoke. I'm going with Garrus. Ashra was cool too, but... overall, Garrus, he's appealing to the old Kodal main in me, so he's got that regen feature with the hourglass.
Yeah, so he'll have the ability to regain health in this one, which is great.
But that's all for the Kombat Kast. Hope you had a chance to check it out, and we'll look forward to seeing more of those in the future, hopefully soon. Let's get into the mix-up for today's episode. Today we are going to be talking about Street Fighter the movie from 1994. And in theme with that, I'm going to bring Cam a mix-up today, as promised. This is a hefty one. I'm bringing you some trivia from Street Fighter the movie. Let's get Cam in the mix-up hot seat here. Question number 1. The name Ryu is infamously mispronounced in the film as Ryu over a dozen times. However, in 2 rare instances, his name is correctly pronounced Which two characters got it right? Cammy and Chun-Li, Guile and Bison, Ryu and Sagawa, or Sagat and Ken?
I do not think that Ken ever got it right.
Okay.
Because he was very stupid throughout the movie. And
Spoiler.
he definitely got it wrong many times with the Ryu pronunciation. I'm going to rule that one out. So Ryu himself. Did he ever refer to himself? I don't think it would be Guile. Because I feel like Van
You
Damme...
got some feelings about Van Damme?
I got some feelings about Van Damme's performance that we'll get into, I think.
Okay.
During the meat of the episode here. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Ryu and Sagawa.
Okay. It is Guile and Bison.
Oh my gosh, really? Okay, that's a
is.
shock.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. 1 out of 2 so far.
1 out of 2. Was
that the first question?
that was the first
Oh my
question. You haven't got any right.
What? You have mixed me up so much that I thought we had already done several questions.
Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh.
Here's question number 2 of question mark. I don't know how many you're going to get here.
Okay, cool. I look forward to it. Hope I get some right.
Guile traditionally wears a green tank top as his main costume in-game. Movie Guile is seen in a different color. Is it A, white, B, brown, C, red, or D, blue?
Blue. It's blue.
I knew you were itching to just answer that.
I wanted to say I was going to be like teal. It's teal.
Yeah, so that is actually what he wears in one of the variants of Street Fighter 2, I think Turbo.
I think so. That or New Challengers or
yeah.
I don't know. One of them. Yeah.
Just a little Guile thing.
Fun fact. Yeah. It's cool.
So yeah, you got one right there.
Sweet.
So now you're 1 for 2.
Now I'm 1 for 2.
All right, next question. Which of the following actors was not inspired by their child or children to take a role in the Street Fighter movie?
Ooh. I only know one of them for a fact.
Okay, you only get 3 choices here, so it's
Okay.
a little bit
Okay.
easier. Okay. A, Damien Chapa, who plays Ken. B, Raul Julia, who plays Bison. Or C, Robert Mammon, who plays Blanca.
I'm going to go with Ken.
That is incorrect. It is
Oh,
Blanca.
man,
Ken
man.
actually was.
That's... Again, I'm just taking my perceptions of Ken being a piece of garbage and just assuming the worst in him, I think.
Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So 1 for 3.
Yep.
Oof.
All right, next question. The film was released December 23rd, 1994.
Christmas release.
December 23rd is the birthday of which character? Is it A, Guile, B, Chun-Li, C, Vega, or D, Zangief?
Ooh. Complete guess here, but I'm going to go with Zangief.
It is Guile.
Oh, no. Okay.
This movie's all about Guile. You should.
It is. Yeah, I just...
Guile-centric. I am truly mixing you up this time.
You are mixing me up hard
Yeah,
here.
it's about time. Okay, final question. In the famous "For Me, It Was Tuesday" scene, Bison is seen at an expansive hat rack. He swaps his gray cap for a cap of what color? Is it A, powder blue, B, leopard print, C, red, or D, black?
I want to say it's red.
You are correct.
Nice.
Well done.
Were all of those other hats on his rack? Because I noticed...
No, they weren't.
Okay, I noticed that he had a lot of hats, and I thought that was really funny,
Yeah,
and I was
I
glad
liked
they
that.
included that.
I liked his little room.
What was that, a 2 out of 5?
Ooh, was it?
I think it was 2 out of 5. 40%.
I met my goal. I mixed him up.
You got me there. Yeah, you mixed me up more than half the time, so I failed to mix up. Maybe I can redeem myself and get you next week.
We'll see.
I'll have to think on it.
Time will tell. So that was a nice little primer for Street Fighter the movie. Let's get into our first viewing. This was our first time ever seeing this movie. You didn't see it as a kid.
No.
I definitely didn't see it as a kid, but I was looking forward to seeing this one because I'd heard of Raul Julia's performance in this and just everything around it. And
Right.
I love him as an actor, so yeah, I was excited. And now that I like Street Fighter, I was interested.
Yeah, like you said, it was our first viewing. I had never seen it as a child or anything, and this movie is 29 years old now. It came out in 94, so yeah, it's going on 30 years old, and we somehow went that long without ever seeing it. I think that's pretty shocking, but I honestly think it was pretty fun. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun watch. I don't know what I was expecting exactly because I've heard people say it's not very good, but I thought it was a really fun watch.
Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to get spoiled for some reason 29 years later, there will be spoilers in this episode.
Yeah,
There have already been spoilers.
Let me just run through the characters first here because at the time this movie came out, there were 16 characters in Street Fighter and 15 of them made the cut for the movie.
Right, and we should put this into perspective that 94, this is going to be based off of Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, this is when Super Turbo was the most recent game, which we all know now is the final version of Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fei Long did not make the cut in this movie. Everybody else made it in some small capacity. Some of them were very small roles.
Yeah, and I actually have some insight to that. So,
Okay.
Capcom had a big hand in this movie. They were overseeing it all. Everything had to be approved by them. And they really wanted to push a lot of characters. Obviously, they want them to be seen as much as possible because they just made them. So the director strongly felt that 7 characters was like the maximum that an audience could keep track of over the runtime that they were covering.
Wow.
But, you know, Capcom wins out. So that's why those characters ended up having more of a cameo role where, you know, they can't really give into much depth, but you know who they are because by the end of the movie, everybody gets into their recognizable outfits.
I didn't mind that some of the characters had smaller roles. It
Yeah.
was still just kind of cool to see them.
I think that's what you kind of want to see anyway. Like, not everybody needs a spotlight, but it's fun to see as many of the characters
definitely.
as possible.
I would much rather that than the opposite, where we're only seeing like 5 or 6 characters, or like you said, 7 characters.
Right.
And just missing out on the whole rest of the cast entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, let me just run through the characters here. So 15 of them made it in.
Yeah.
Everybody but Fei Long. I guess I can just say that.
Another thing about Fei Long not making it, the director also felt that he didn't like the choice of Fei Long being like a movie star type Bruce Lee character for some reason.
Okay.
He just felt that was too basic maybe. But yeah.
Interesting. I wonder why that was.
So strong opposition from the director for Fei Long.
Yeah, I wonder why that was.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, that's really weird.
Yeah.
So, I want...
Sorry to just throw you off.
No, that's okay. You threw me off a little bit here. Just add like a little like ticking timer. And,
Yeah.
while my brain resets. Yeah, and once again, before I get into the plot, I'm going to run through some character differences as well.
Okay.
There were some characters that were kind of similar, and then other characters that were way off of whatever their video game counterpart was. Let's start with Chun-Li. She was a cop in the games, and in this movie, she was a reporter. Didn't really find out a whole lot about her until much later, so we'll get to that. Zangief is a henchman for Bison, and usually he just kind of fights for the glory of his country. He doesn't have any sort of allies. He's
like
on
affiliations.
Affiliation. I guess he would generally be on the side of good, but
like
yeah.
neutral.
Yeah, he's pretty neutral. In this one, he was just a dumb henchman. Guile was very, very different. In this movie, he was kind of an asshole and also a big creep.
Okay, well...
Well, and I think we'll cover...
He was still a military guy, right?
He was, yeah. He was still a military guy. So
Colonel. They made him Colonel in the movie.
Colonel
I think
Will.
typically he's like Captain or something.
I honestly don't know what his rank normally is, but yeah, he was
Sorry.
Colonel William F. Guile.
Yes.
Yeah,
Bilf.
usually, yeah. Usually he is pretty honorable, pretty serious, with like a get it done, can do kind of attitude. And in this one, he still had that can do attitude, but it was kind of like an anything goes, I'm a hard ass, I'm going to do whatever the most brutal thing is attitude.
For sure.
And not only that, he was just kind of, he was an asshole in it. And then he was also just a general creep in like a lot of the things that he did.
Mm-hmm.
The next character on this list of differences would be DJ, which I don't really know that he was super different. He was more of one of those cameo roles. Normally he just does his own thing. But yeah, at the start of the movie, he is on the side of bad. He's just another M. Bison henchman.
Which isn't normal.
That's not normal.
Not normal for DJ.
Blanca.
Blanca was...
very different.
Yeah.
Normally he's just a Brazilian jungle man. And he's green. Not a lot of explanation there. But he seems to protect his mom, usually. In this, he actually starts out as a completely different character. He starts out as Charlie, which is one of Guile's old military friends. And he's one of the hostages from the very start of the movie. And he is experimented on and turned into a green, freakish man.
They throw him in a chamber and they keep increasing his strength percentage by percentage until it, for some reason, has this effect on him. He has got like 4 different IV bags.
He screams a lot and he's forced to watch like violent videos and anyways.
They give Blanca this background. They give him a reason to be this freak, this monster, this beast. It's interesting to me that his actual background in the games doesn't have anything to do with being in a situation like this, because I always perceived his little, and I say always, and I mean that in the past like 2 months or however long I've known about him.
Yeah.
But whenever I see his little like shackles.
Shackles, yeah.
Yeah, I always just assumed he like escaped from a lab, and that's exactly what this story is. So to me it was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you go that route, I guess?
Yeah, and I think
with
it worked
Dr.
for this.
Dhalsim.
Yeah, Dr. Dhalsim. We'll get to that too.
Who else has a big diff?
Ken and Ryu, instead of being martial arts masters. I mean, usually Ken Masters is actually the world champion martial artist. So he's usually number 1. And Ryu is like his BFF and training buddy. Not too far behind him. So even though the games are about Ryu, Ken is the number 1 world champion.
But that all gets tossed aside here, right?
Right. In this movie, they're just 2 hustlers, is the word that Ken uses. They're just a couple of hustlers. And they kind of just act like a couple of like buddy comedy idiots together the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Which I didn't hate, if I'm being honest. In its own way, it's kind of endearing enough.
They're not anything like the focal point they are in the games.
Right.
They just become these like side goon characters pretty much.
Yeah.
So.
It was pretty funny to see them in that role. Let's go into T-Hawk here. Very, very, very briefly. T-Hawk's a soldier, part of Guile's command, and he barely had a role in it. Towards the end of the movie, he wore a little headband and changed into a vest and didn't do anything at all.
He might have screamed like a line or 2, but...
maybe. Balrog, coming up next here. He was still a boxer. He was just a reporter/friend of Chun-Li. That made him not a bad guy. Usually he's a bad guy. Balrog is normally one of the 4 kings. But in this movie, he's one of the 3 reporters with Honda and Chun-Li, which I think is very fun. Next up, we have Dhalsim. You mentioned he was a scientist in this one.
Yeah.
So he's kind of just like a weird mad scientist type. He's not really mad. He's just, he's living in, I guess, the basement of Bison's lair. He's forced to do experiments, and he's the one that turns Blanca into a weirdo. The rest of the cast was all semi-normal. They were close enough to their in-game counterparts where it wasn't too notable. And those characters were Bison, Honda, Sagat, Cammy, and Vega.
We saw Vega like pretty early on in the movie, and I like didn't expect that at all. I really wasn't sure how many characters you would be seeing, and then to see someone that I kind of perceive as like not that popular, like obviously not like a Ryu or Ken,
Right.
or even Bison,
Right.
or Cammy. The list goes on, like, of characters that would come ahead of Vega, but yeah, I was surprised to see him so like early on, and they nailed him, I think.
Yeah, they nailed him.
He was great.
The outfit was really cool.
The mask.
The mask was sweet, and
Yeah,
then
they
he
nailed
had
it.
the claw, and I feel like the claw, like in the live action, actually looked cool. This is my synopsis of the movie, and it's just like a line of, oh, this happened next, this happened. So this is the general plot of Street Fighter 1994. The short version, and I put in quotation marks here. We start out, and Bison has a room full of hostages at his Bison lair, and it's up to Van Damme's Guile and a crew of his army buddies to save the day. So yeah, we get Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile, and he's got to save a bunch of hostages.
Among them is his friend Carlos, Charlie.
Yeah, Carlos, Charlie.
And Guile's working with Cammy, is in his team. T-Hawk, as we see later.
Yeah, T-Hawk's on the team, and then just a bunch of generic military dudes.
They have a new character, Sagawa.
Sagawa, that's right. Yep, you mentioned him. And he was originally going to be Ryu, right?
Yeah, so the Capcom Japanese production really wanted Ryu to be a Japanese actor. They felt very strongly about that, and they highly recommended the actor who portrays Sagawa. But unfortunately, he didn't speak enough English, and actually Sagawa's scenes are all pretty much dubbed whenever he's speaking English.
Yeah.
So you'll notice kind of,
Yeah, and it was a little bit
an
campy,
offness,
but it
but-
wasn't too bad.
So that's the reason why he didn't get the Ryu role. And apparently he was really bitter about that and ended up disliking the actor who actually did get the role on set. So
bummer.
awkward.
Yeah. That's the setup. And then next thing we know, Ken and Ryu are hustling.
Going to Sagat's nightclub?
Yes, I think it
Like,
seems like a
about
nightclub.
to, like, get with some girls at
Yeah,
the
but,
nightclub?
like-
I don't know. Like, get some
Like
weapons?
Sagat offers them some honeys, and
Then they're like, no, we actually just want to do a job for you.
yeah, we want to do some business.
Like, they want to do some spy shit or something.
something. So
Some
yeah,
hustling.
they're doing hustling, as Ken states later in the movie. Guile busts through the wall and arrests all of them, including Vega, who was there doing some, like, cage fighting.
Vega seems to just be with Sagat, like, in his little group.
Yeah, so he's just chilling with him. He was doing a cage fight or something. Now he's arrested as well. So Vega, Sagat, Ken, Ryu, all arrested by Guile.
I also want to say that I loved that the first time you see Vega is, like you said, in this, like, cage fight that's going on in Sagat's area, his little town.
Yep.
In Shadowloo. I want to shout out that because, yeah, in this movie, all over this movie, they call it Shadowloo, and that was, like, a word I didn't know.
Yeah.
Didn't know when I covered Rashid a few episodes back. Anyways, Sagat's place has this cage ring in it, and it's very reminiscent of the stage that Vega can climb around in. So I liked that was our first time seeing him in the movie.
Yeah,
So,
that part was well done.
Yeah,
that part was
yeah,
well done,
yeah.
for sure. And his whole deal, his fight, his character, he was cool. So
Yeah.
anyways,
I
praising
love that
Vega
he
here.
comes out handing people roses and shit for when he's
being-
about to fight Ryu wearing all brown.
Yeah, that's right.
So they
So,
get arrested.
they get arrested.
And then they're all prisoners. We see, like, Sagat and Vega hanging out in the prison yard. Fights break out there.
Yeah, and then it just kind of gets resolved when Guile's like, bring me those two. They seem like good fighters. Ryu and Ken.
Yeah.
They talk for a minute. Nothing really happens there. And then the next thing we see, all the prisoners are being loaded up onto a truck. Another fight breaks out, but this time it's between Ryu and Ken.
Strange.
Yeah, and then Ken grabs a pistol from somewhere and shoots.
Whoa. They have a fake fight so that Ryu can grab keys off of a guard.
That's right. Yeah.
And then, once they're in the back of this truck, they heist it up, they take it over, so the prisoners have control of the truck. Then Ken gets a pistol, a gun?
Yeah, I don't know where Ken got a gun, but Ken gets a gun and he gets real trigger happy. And he just shoots the hell out of Guile, just blows him away. After Ken murders Guile in the street while hanging out the back of the truck.
Whoa. Yeah, Ken kills.
Yeah, he shoots Guile down. He just guns him down in the street. And then after that, him and Sagat just like share this nod of approval, like, yeah, pretty cool, huh? After Guile gets gunned down in the street by Ken
sounds insane, right? Like,
yeah, right.
This is where you're jumping in.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, the four of them all end up heading towards Bison's lair. The four of them being Ken, Ryu, Sagat, and Vega. Ken and Ryu join Bison's army, and that's how they get their signature gi outfits. Chun-Li, Balrog, and Honda, three normal reporters, are also at Bison's lair, but as prisoners. They break out, and Ken and Ryu help. So they all start trying to escape together. Zangief and Honda have a long fight where they throw each other around, they throw each other through a bunch of walls, and then we find out Zangief is an idiot because he's apparently not even getting paid to be a henchman. He's just doing it because he thought Bison was a good guy. Turns out Guile is actually still alive. Most of the characters that are all in Bison's hideout find out that Guile is living at this point. He's on a boat with Cammy and T-Hawk, and the three of them are on the way to try and stop Bison one last time. And that pleases Bison because he actually really, really wants to fight Guile. Guile meets up with his ex-best friend Blanca once he gets there and realizes, oh my gosh, it's Charlie. What have they done to you? Sees the experiments, all that. And then his choice of action is to bring his pistol out, and he's about to shoot Blanca in the head.
That's not the first time he's made a fucked up decision at that point.
No, it's not. It's just another like weird. Why did they take Guile in that direction?
Guile seems to make a lot of choices in this movie that almost feel directly affected by Jean-Claude Van Damme's situation at the time.
Yeah.
Which we figure out is a lot of drug abuse and just like shitty star quality.
Yeah.
Like not showing up late. When you were pointing out the differences in character portrayal, this is a big one. Usually Guile has kind of a can-do, honorable attitude, but now he's like really showing some awful true colors. This scene in particular,
that one got me.
Yeah, really. Earlier in the movie, he's making it seem like this is my best friend. I'm going to do anything to save him. I'm going there for him. Sees that he's become a monster, says, what have they done to you? And then says, I'm going to make this right, but I have to end this abomination.
Yeah, and
which is fucked up.
There's no confusion about the scene. Like, he's definitely going to shoot Blanca. Mm-hmm. And that scene, as soon as it started, I was like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Weird scientist Dhalsim just kind of like grabs his hand at the last second, like, wait, stop. He's 51% good and 49% bad, so he's capable of bad shit, but...
Yeah. Dhalsim had to be the only character where they truly just had someone in the movie just with the name Dhalsim. He doesn't even fight or anything, so he's truly just, oh, we want to have Dhalsim as a cameo, we'll just make him a scientist.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, he'll be bald and shirtless.
So Dhalsim was struggling against a guard, and a bunch of chemicals spill all over him. I thought, oh, this is it. That's how he gets his stretchy powers. Nope, he just continues on, and that's never mentioned again.
That seemed to be one of the struggle points for Cam throughout this movie was characters missing their signature elements. And Dhalsim was one. Sagat was also one. Is he ever gonna say tiger? Something? Tiger? Any tiger, please?
Yeah, tiger uppercut, tiger knee, anything. I'll take it.
Anyways, back to Guile being an absolute fuck up.
Dhalsim stops him from killing his ex-best friend. Now Dhalsim is bald and shirtless, and I guess that makes him weird. And he's friends with Blanca now, so those two weirdos are hanging out together in the basement of the M. Bison secret lair. And then Guile decides to end things once and for all. He approaches M. Bison and says, I'll take you on, let's go, and basically gives everybody else time to escape. But Bison is super down for this. He wants to fight one-on-one because he lives for this kind of thing. During round one, Guile just kind of beats the crap out of him, and then Bison slams into an electrical panel, gets electrocuted and dies. Or so we think. He comes back like 2 minutes later after Guile talks to the team and says, hey, I'll meet up with you in a minute. He has his electricity powers. Not that he had electricity before, it was like psycho power. But now he has electricity and he can fly. He straight up says, once he comes back, round 2. And then he Psycho Crusher flies into Guile and just starts spamming that move over and over and just beating the shit out of Guile for like what feels like about 5 minutes. After that, he goes for one quick final Psycho Crusher. Guile kicks him in the face one time and he dies. He slams into a stack of TVs and dies. And then during the end, Zangief becomes good. Blanca and the weird scientist, Dhalsim, stay in Bison's lair, and then I think it explodes. So what happened to them? Did they just die?
They're not in the end scene?
No, I don't think they're in the end scene.
Interesting. It's just that Hollywood thing of sacrificing the freaks.
Yeah, they're like, we need to stay behind in the basement, so...
You guys wouldn't make it out there.
Yeah,
so we're just gonna blow you up.
They were hoping you would forget about him, because they definitely redeemed Zangief at the end of the movie. Watching him in the movie, I just kept saying, like, I've never loved him more than this. He's so funny. But beyond that, I don't really know what happened to the hostages. They never showed the hostages again, did they?
Bison opens up the pit of hostages, and he says, I'm gonna give you guys more than just a firing squad. You're gonna get ripped to shreds by a beast of my own creation.
Which is an insane thing to say.
So he's gonna bring Blanca in. However, he doesn't know that Blanca's talking to Guile and Dhalsim right now. So
yeah,
I don't know how many hostages make it out. I feel like they then put like Sagawa in charge of getting them out, kind of.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit that I did not see Guile coming back. Like, I legit thought he was dead. Ken's here to kill. What? Ken's killing. And then, no, he's actually not. Guile faked it. But, like, the scene where Guile comes back to life. Okay, so Chun-Li.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Chun-Li goes undercover to find the source of, like, a tracking device. I guess it must be Guile's. I don't know.
I guess so.
I really don't know.
I don't know how she got that.
That's the whole, like, disjointedness of this movie with, like, them ripping pages from the script. Anyway, she finds Guile's body, and it's under a sheet, and then it has this, like, whole horror element when he sits up with the sheet, and, like, the sound effects they use and everything. I just did not see that coming.
My first thought when that happened was, like, how long has he been laying there waiting for someone to show up?
That too. That's a good point.
Like, how long have you been laying under this sheet, Guile?
I also have to admit, I did not see Bison coming back to life coming.
No, neither did I.
That was a good little twist there at the end, because I just assumed it was over. But round 2, very clever.
Round 2.
I like it.
That
Another
was fun.
clever element was Bison's control panel.
It had the 6 buttons plus the stick. That was fun. That was cool.
Other little Easter eggs, because we mentioned that Capcom oversaw this. At one point, Chun-Li's doing her undercover stuff. She and Balrog and Honda are performing this little routine in front of Bison's little party. And they throw her in this barrel, and on top of the barrel it says Capcom.
They have used barrel minigames in the past in old Capcom titles where characters will throw Capcom barrels at you. We also see DJ and Sagat just escape. They like wade across a little river, and it seems like they're bringing some kind of treasure with them. And then we find out that it's just like Bison dollars, fake money that's worthless. So it's just a waste of time. And ooh, bummer. We didn't get anything, but we're alive. Yeah, that was it in terms of my little brief synopsis. Those were the parts that stuck with me.
So, do you want to talk about ratings? Give a rating?
Yeah, let's give some ratings here. 29 years after it has come out, watching it for the very first time in 2023, I'm going to give Street Fighter the movie a 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't think it was bad. I mean, it wasn't great. The plot definitely lost me at times because it was kind of all over the place. Kind of goofy. I feel like the plot was definitely secondary. But the whole time it was enjoyable. So I'm still going to give it a 3 out of 5.
Unsurprisingly. I'm going to agree with this. I'm also giving it a 3 out of 5, and I would give it a lower score, but I feel as though Raul Julia's performance just elevates the movie to another level. He did that movie, did that role for his kids. His family was actually there with him because he was ill, terminally ill.
If they had had someone else in the role of M. Bison, the main villain for the movie, I don't know that I would have given it even a 3. It probably would have been like a 1 or a 2, but he gave it like a certain level of charm. Felt like it was M. Bison's story, kind of. And that was fun. I liked that, so.
They weren't done with surprises. The whole credits roll, and there's another surprise. A very early on post-credit scene, I would say, in 94.
Yeah.
Fun fact, though, this actually was not part of the U.S. theatrical release, so this wasn't added until the VHS.
Okay, interesting.
And Bison's lair blew up, and post-credits, this AI voice is booting up again, and we find out he's not gone.
Yeah, so it seems like he was revived again by whatever this little electrical impulse thing was that revived him the first time.
Just a fun, like,
you can't take this dude down.
right, very early on post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Like, that's something we're so used to seeing now.
And yeah, that is rare, and that's pretty fun. Well, I think we would probably both agree on who our favorite character would be.
Yeah. We kind of
Julia.
been talking about that, yeah.
I feel like he would get a 5 out of 5. The rest of the movie, 3 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, we both really enjoyed Vega. He sold it. He barely talked, but he sold it. What I want to know, though, is who was your least favorite character in the movie?
My least favorite would probably be... It's
Okay.
Guile.
Okay.
Just because he's such an asshole character. So
yeah, he
was
was.
Guile your least favorite character as well? Or did you have someone that outstaged him?
I think he probably was my least favorite character in terms of... Yeah, like you said, he was just a big shithead. But I was thinking a little bit smaller in scale in terms of like...
Oh, like more cameo style?
Yeah, like a cameo style. Like,
Okay, who did you
I really
hate?
wish they would have done this differently.
Alright, who is it? Balrog?
No, it's actually Dhalsim, because they went full weird with Blanca.
Mm-hmm.
So why didn't they go like a little bit weird with Dhalsim, you know?
I don't know.
They poured chemicals on him. They eventually made him shave his head and take his shirt off and stuff. So they had something going.
I wonder if that was one of the script pages that they ripped out and just never reshot. They were like,
I actually kind of wanted to see him. I wanted to see what they did with his powers and how they showed it in 1994 effects. So
Yeah.
I think I was most disappointed in that. They showed him so many times that it seemed like it was up to something and like he was going to have some sort of change or grand redemption. And then he ended up just hanging out with the freaky green man.
So that was your least favorite character, Dhalsim?
He was my most disappointing character, at least.
Okay.
I should say that.
Well,
Least
Guile
favorite?
disappoints me.
Least favorite, Guile, for sure. Most disappointing because I wanted to see stretchy powers, Dhalsim.
Disappointing.
Yes. There were a few special moves that I saw, but they really didn't share a ton of them in the movie. Guile did like a blink and you miss it. Single flash kick at one point. Honda did his palm slap. He slapped Zangief in the face a bunch of times. Thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, that one stood out for sure.
Yeah, and then Bison spammed his Psycho Crusher flying move like 10 times in a row at the end of the movie. Just bam, 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 back and forth, just beating the shit out of Guile for the longest time. Those were really the only special moves that I saw.
Once again, there is a reason that there may or may not be a lack of special moves. So, as I've mentioned, this production was kind of a mess, kind of all over the place. They filmed in Thailand as well as Australia, and they ended up splitting filming up between Thailand and Australia at one point so that the director could remain in Australia to film the dialogue-heavy scenes, and the stunt coordinator could be in Thailand to film the stunt scenes, so all the fights. Well, once they convened and director saw all of the footage of the fights, he was very upset. There was a big fight, over fights, because there were no identifiable special moves. And Like we said, Capcom had a big hand in this, and that just wouldn't have been acceptable. Alright, so I'm gonna share a bunch of goofs and just miscellaneous things, trivia.
Okay.
So here's just a bunch of Easter eggs and all that.
Cool.
Some of these we've kind of touched on already. You might have heard them in the mix-up with all the trivia there too, but we'll hit them again one more time. Raul Julia accepted the role of M. Bison because his children were fans of the Street Fighter games, and he wanted to participate in a film that he thought they would enjoy with him. I think that's really cool because, as we mentioned, he was terminally ill at the time, fighting stomach cancer. He had actually just had a surgery before filming and did this out of passion, out of love for his kids.
That's really cool.
The film is also dedicated to Raul Julia, who died soon after filming was complete.
Right.
The gold statue in Sagat's business parlor, the reclining Buddha, is the same statue that can be seen in Sagat's backdrop in the video games.
That's a fun one.
Something to bridge the gap for us.
Ooh.
So Jean-Claude Van Damme actually turned down the role of Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat 1995 to do the Street Fighter film instead.
That's interesting.
Do you think that's a win?
I think so, yeah.
You do?
I think based on the way this went and based on Lyndon Ashby's performance in the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, I'm happy with the way things turned out.
I think I am too, because as we saw in Street Fighter, Guile is supposed to be American, but Van Damme has a heavy Belgian accent. So if that doesn't go away, I don't know that they would have trained him out of that for Johnny Cage, so...
I don't think he would have listened based on his actions on set and
yeah, his things
addictions. And yeah, I don't think that would have worked out too well. So I'm happy with the way things turned out.
Me too. Okay, so Byron Mann, who plays Ryu, didn't hear of his knife fight with Vega until a few hours beforehand. So he asked a Thai stuntman to train him on the spot. The real fight was done with a real blade, so Mann could have been seriously injured.
That's wild.
Yeah, right?
Like, aren't there rules for that when you sign a contract?
You would think so. This one is fun. So this kind of gets into the discrepancies that would crop up due to being behind in production and rushing and just cutting things out and all that. So, the final amphibious attack on M. Bison's compound, filmed on location in Thailand, was originally supposed to be an air assault. The Thai government wouldn't allow the use of its airspace for the large number of aircraft the scene would require, so the producers changed the final battle to a boat assault instead. This is subtly lampshaded in the movie through Guile's line, "An attack from the air is impossible." So I just thought that was a fun little insert into the movie itself. Like, we literally couldn't do this.
Yeah, and can I just ask, how many aircrafts did they need?
Oh my god, I don't know.
Scene?
Because, like, how many boats did they have in that scene?
I feel like
Not
it was
many.
Quite a few. Well, yeah, it wasn't that
many.
many. But if the Thai government had to step in, like, did they already have all these different aircrafts? They had them ready to go, and then the Thai government was like, "Wait, you can't use all of these."
From what it sounds
This is
like,
a fucked up amount of aircrafts.
it sounds like the Thai government in general just wasn't very lenient with their whole filming process. They blocked off a lot of main roads to their filming location, so the casts and everybody had to get there by like high-speed boats, so they would arrive on set soaking wet.
That's insane.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounded like the Thai government kind of made it hard to film there.
That's crazy.
But
that's
yeah.
crazy. Maybe that's why Sagat looked wet all the time. I thought
Maybe,
he was just
yeah,
sweaty,
you were wondering about
but
that.
maybe he was just legitimately wet from showing up on a boat each day.
Maybe he didn't get toweled down.
God. Toweler assistant didn't show up that day.
All right, next up, there is an oil painting in Bison's private quarters of a frowning clown holding a cluster of balloons and wearing Bison's signature cap. This is a reference to the famous Pogo the Clown oil paintings done by the infamous serial killer John Wayne Gacy.
It's an interesting little fun fact, and I saw a theory online that said since M. Bison is existing in this real world in this movie, that That painting was actually done by Gacy and sent to M. Bison as a gift.
Oh.
So
that's
just a little
interesting.
fun, like, fan theory kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
Gacy reaching out like, I like what you do, and here's a clown painting with a hat on it. They don't ever say that in the movie, so
Right.
that's
a
just something I
fun
read
little-
online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I really liked Bison's private quarters in general. I thought that was a cool space.
I loved his private quarters with his hat rack with all the different colored Bison hats.
Make Bison's private quarters a stage.
Absolutely.
Next up, I wanted to share some of the taglines because you thought that something they say in the movie would be a tagline. It is not, however.
Yeah, I looked it up after
Yeah.
that. I ended up looking it up because I thought, like, that sounds like a tagline because it's just a weird quote for Sagat to be saying. Sagat said, I like my games live and in living color. And I thought, that sounds like something that would be on the side of an arcade cabinet for Street Fighter 1 or 2.
Oh, yeah.
But I couldn't find that anywhere. I was Googling it, thinking, like, maybe it was an advertisement back in the day, but no luck.
Well, here's the real taglines for
Okay.
the 94 film. The ultimate battle.
The ultimate battle.
Adventure is the name of the game. I guess for Guile, because he's kind of going all over the place.
Yeah, fair
And
enough.
Chun-Li.
Yeah.
Chun-Li's pretty adventurous in this film. The ultimate challenge begins this Christmas in theaters everywhere.
Good tagline. Yeah, it flows off the tongue.
Get ready for the ultimate street fight! Exclamation point.
Like, the only place they don't fight is in a street in that movie. They fight in the jungle and, like, in a laboratory.
True. This Christmas, shop early. The streets won't be safe. That's kind of ominous, but okay.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I don't know
Hold on.
why that was a tagline.
Shop early. The streets won't be safe.
And very similar to the first one, the ultimate battle is about to begin.
That's kind of fun.
Those are some of the taglines. So now I'm going to share some of the inconsistencies. I don't know how many times I've said this, but the production seemed to be a mess for this film. Very rushed, very behind. The director was ripping out pages from the script and just moving on. So the finished product is very much a puzzle piece of clips. We'll just say that. Let's start off with when Ryu and Ken knock out Bison's torturer, they are not wearing gloves. The next scene when they enter the torture room, they are wearing gloves. Next, when Honda slaps Zangief's face, Zangief is wearing a tank top, though he previously wasn't wearing a top. In the very next scene, when Honda and Zangief resume fighting, Zangief is again not wearing the tank top. I didn't catch any of
I
these
didn't catch that one.
inconsistencies,
Yeah,
really.
I didn't catch that.
I was just letting it all just go in my brain.
Yep. I bet
right.
that's because that was one of those special moves that they were like, we gotta add a special move. Capcom said
Oh,
so.
yeah, you're probably right about that.
And then they forgot to have him take his shirt off.
Another little inconsistency, when Bison is using the video game controls on his main panel, as we talked about,
Love that.
his metal forearm protectors appear and disappear between shots.
Okay, interesting. I noticed.
I feel like I would have noticed that, but I didn't.
I didn't notice that, but I noticed that when he was using that control panel, the final thing he did for like his finishing blow or whatever was just slap his palm across all 6 buttons at the
Oh,
same time,
damn.
which I thought was hilarious.
More revealing mistakes. In the scene where Ryu and Ken are confronted by Chun-Li, Balrog, and E Honda, Chun-Li pulls a knife on Ryu. The knife brushes Ryu's arm and it bends, clearly showing that it is a prop knife.
Oof.
Next up, when Ken kicks Victor Sagat back and knocks him against a stone pillar, the pillar visibly wobbles when Sagat bounces off of it. When Chun-Li says Bison's ammunitions are about to be blown sky high, her lips don't match her words. Another instance of this is when Chun-Li tries to grab the microphone from Guile after he flipped off Bison on live television, which I think he called him a dickhead. You said he called him a big head, but I feel like it's PG-13. I feel like he called him a dickhead.
You're probably right. I think I just misheard it.
You can hear her say, "What are you doing?" though her lips are not moving. The same thing happens to Guile soon after when he says, "You wanted me on TV. I'm on TV now. Leave it."
Guile's such a jerk.
Yeah.
We also didn't mention all the sexist shit that he does towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, so the final scene, like after Bison's lair blows up and everybody that's a main character-ish is okay, they're like regrouped in a safe location together. Yeah, we've got Cammy and Chun-Li there, but Guile just kind of creeps on him. His interactions with them are like really uncomfortable because like it's kind of just a scene showing Guile interacting with everybody. Everybody's like, oh, Guile's okay, cool. But he's like just kind of creeping on Cammy, and then he really creeps on Chun-Li. I don't
grab
know.
her face and like hold it?
Yeah, he does. It almost looks like he's gonna kiss Cammy.
I thought he was
first.
going to, and I was thinking like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is out of nowhere.
Which, that's another thing. Apparently, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Kylie Minogue, who plays Cammy, were having an affair.
I wonder if that made her nervous when he grabbed her chin.
Probably. Yeah, I don't know. And also, he was doing like $10,000 worth of coke every week, so...
Insanity.
That would probably also worry you. Like, what's this cokehead gonna do with my chin in his hand? Like,
yeah, is he gonna like kill me on TV?
Is he gonna smooch me really hard?
Yeah, is he gonna kiss me on film, and I'm gonna be sad about that.
So, wasn't a fan of Guile's actions in that little scene towards the ladies.
Not at all.
A little bit creepy.
No, he walked around Chun-Li and it looked like he was checking out her butt.
She says, hey, are you still up for that interview? And he's like, as long as you wear that dress.
Creep.
Oh, boy. Just to top it all off, this was rated PG-13 for non-stop martial arts and action violence. I like the non-stop
I think that's
factor.
a fun descriptor.
Yeah. That's all I have for extras on Street Fighter, the movie.
Okay. I have one brief little extra here. I won't go too far into it because we could definitely cover these in their own episode at some point. But it had a couple of game releases. There were 3 different versions of Street Fighter, the movie, the game. But yeah, all 3 of them were designed independently.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that covers it. We give it a 3 stars out of 5. Let us know how you feel about this movie. Is this one of your favorite movies of all time? When did you first see this movie? Fill us in.
I think that I saw it at the right time. I just want to say that. I think if I would have seen it earlier, I wouldn't have cared as much. But I just want to say that 29 years after it released, I think
was a good choice.
I personally saw it at the perfect time.
All right, well, we are going to leave it at that. Give it a watch if you've never seen it. Let us know how you feel about it. And we will catch you guys next week with an episode about the upcoming beta.
Yeah, that is coming up. Yeah, that's coming out tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. So see you in the beta of MK1. That brings us to the end of this week's episode of Wake Up 3. Thanks so much for listening. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at WakeUp3FGC. And you can find me, Molly, on Twitter at Concut. That's KAHNKUT. Or on PlayStation, that's Jam Michaels.
And you can find me, Cam, on Twitter or PlayStation at Big Rock Online. This is Wake Up 3, signing off.
Bye.
As usual. And this is a host. Or